Hello, I am here with Jim, who is a 33-year-old Caucasian male who has been referred to counseling services by his PCP in order to explore some issues that he has around his tobacco use and cigarette smoking. The techniques I'm going to be demonstrating belong to the motivational interviewing set of skills that has been proven to be particularly effective with substance use. The first set of skills I will be demonstrating is the OARS, which stands for open questions, affirmations, and reflective listening. And summary, sorry. And within that, you will also see some strategies that are used for sustaining change talk, which include asking open-ended questions, listening emphatically, and asking the correct questions to help the client look forward and look back. Hi, Jim.
Hi,
Thanks for coming in today.
thank you for having me.
I'm happy you're here. Before we get started, I just wanted to remind you that everything we say in this room is confidential unless you indicate that you have thoughts of hurting yourself or someone else. And then I am legally and ethically bound to let the appropriate parties know because your safety is always my first priority and concern.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. The first technique I'll demonstrate is the asking of open-ended questions. So what brings you in today?
I smoke cigarettes, and I was talking with my doctor about it, and they suggested that I come in and talk to you about it.
Mm-hmm. And how do you feel about having to come and talk to someone?
I'll be honest, it's not high on the list of things I want to do, but I'm here, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely. You came and you are willing to have the conversation. So I think that's a great step in the right direction.
thank you.
You're welcome. So tell me, what do you think about your cigarette use?
I mean, I just smoke cigarettes. Something I've done for a while. I don't really think about it. It's kind of just part of my day to day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just part of my life.
Mm-hmm. When is there a specific time when you find yourself smoking more cigarettes, or a time when you feel like more inclined to use?
I'd say, uh, you know, when I'm driving, it's definitely, I like to smoke cigarettes then. I think maybe if, like the stressful situation or something like that, I'm probably, more inclined to smoke, a few more cigarettes or something like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where like, or maybe it's like I'm making, I'll smoke one and then I'll be like, well, I'm stressed out, so it gives me an excuse to smoke another one right after, or makes me feel like that's okay to do or something. You know what I mean?
Okay, absolutely. The next skill I am going to demonstrate is reflective listening. So it sounds like you are more inclined to smoke cigarettes when you're feeling stress.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more about the situations that cause you stress?
Hmm. I think work is one of the leading causes of stress for me. Sometimes personal relationships, I guess, too, your loved ones can be stressful. So, you know, it just has to do with stuff like that. Do you want like specific examples or?
Yeah, I would love to hear some specific examples
Well,
of.
so like at work the other day, my boss was kind of riding me, and it was something I never, done before, so I needed a little bit of help, and I was getting stressed out because he was riding me, and he tells me that to slow down and think so I don't hurt anyone or hurt someone else. But then he tells me I'm going too slow, and then he starts getting on me about how I'm doing things, and then it just I don't know. I just get all flustered and then get all kind of stressed out about it. So I found myself like I snuck off to the porta potty and just sat there for 10, 15 minutes and smoked a couple cigarettes and just hid out for a little while. You know what I mean? And I don't know. That was one example.
That's a great example. And did smoking the cigarettes in that stressful moment, did that lessen your experience of stress?
I definitely feel like it calmed me down 100%. I don't know if it lessened anything, but I felt better going back into the situation after having smoked a couple cigarettes.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Hmm. So it sounds like even if your feelings, the stressful environment wasn't changed, your personal reaction to the stressful environment was changed through when you were able to sneak away and smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, I guess so because really there's nothing I could do. I had to you know finish my task. There was no way around that. Um, but yeah, I guess this the smoking kind of helped me cope with it, I guess, or deal with it a little bit better. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. Can you tell me about some other coping mechanisms that you might use?
Mm, I don't. I don't know if I really have coping mechanisms per se. I mean, some like situation like that. If like say that happened and I'm not able to sneak off and smoke a cigarette, I'll kind of just like it'll keep stewing in my mind, and I'll try to like kind of lock it away, and then maybe at the end of the day on my ride home, like I'll think about it. You know what I mean? But as far as like coping mechanisms, I don't think I necessarily can say that I have any per se.
Hmm. Well, what are some other things that you do when you feel feelings of stress? Or give
Um,
me an example of a stressful situation where you were unable to smoke and have a cigarette in that moment. How did you navigate that?
well, mm, this one time I was doing this project for my mother, and she wanted me to put this lamppost up, and it was just a crazy situation, and I don't like to smoke in front of my parents because of respect and stuff like that, even though she knows I smoke. But I kind of just like walked away for a few minutes and like took some deep breaths and just like tried to kind of compose myself and not freak out, and then I went back into the situation.
The next skill I'll be demonstrating is affirmations. So I heard you say that you don't have any coping skills or you weren't able to identify one, but based on what you're telling me and what I'm hearing, it really sounds like in that particular stressful situation, you were able to use some mindfulness and kind of give yourself a break and some space from that situation instead of just going immediately to a cigarette.
So that's a coping mechanism.
That's a coping skill, yeah.
So I mean, my mother's pretty stressful. I can use that to deal with her.
Yeah, you absolutely can. And um, if it has that one application in that particular situation, could you think of other times where you could, maybe use that, taking a step back, taking a couple of deep breaths, even going and sitting somewhere else for a few minutes?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably I now that I realize that that's a way that I can, cope with things in a healthy way. Um, yeah, I mean, geez, it could be anything really. Like, say I get into like a small tiff with my significant other or something, I could probably just go into the other room and, you know, take some deep breaths and, just calm down, something like that, instead of going out for a cigarette, you know?
Yeah, you absolutely could. So it sounds like that you have, been using these coping skills, all this one particular coping skill the whole time without even knowing that it was a coping skill.
Yeah, I guess so. It's something I never really thought of. I just never really put any fancy words with it, you know what I mean?
Sure, sure. Sometimes we don't realize that like what we're doing actually has like a name.
Okay.
So now you know that you have at least one tool in kind of like your toolkit. Next time a stressful situation comes around, could you give me another example of another stressful situation that you could use your this newfound coping skill in?
Um, I can think of an older example. So a couple years ago, this I was backing out of a parking spot in the Walmart parking lot, and I got sideswiped by an elderly lady, and I wanted to get upset, but I couldn't do it because she was elderly, and I don't want to be disrespectful. So you know, even I guess I could have just like taken some deep breaths then, and that would have calmed me down instead of like you know chain smoking cigarettes or something like that.
Absolutely. You absolutely could have done that. Do you think that you would be willing to try this new found coping mechanism in the future?
Yeah, now that I know that that's a healthy way to deal with something, I can, yeah, like you said, it's like a tool in my toolbox. Like it's like, if, I got that in my arsenal now and something I can try to use. And I hope like that next time a stressful situation, comes up that I can remember that and try to use that and utilize it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we just have a few minutes left in our session today. So I just kind of wanted to do a quick little wrap up to make sure that I am understanding everything that I heard correctly.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing is that you don't really think that your cigarette smoking is an issue, but you are willing and open to maybe investigating some other coping mechanisms.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't want to smoke cigarettes for the rest of my life, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the major reason why I'm smoking cigarettes, then, then yeah, it's something to explore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now I'll be demonstrating the technique of summarization. So you are willing, now that you know that you have this toolkit, you are willing to try it. Maybe not all the time, maybe not every time, but going forward, you are gonna maybe entertain the possibility of trying not to smoke cigarettes and using a different stress management response.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to do my best to remember that I have that tool in my toolbox and, pull that out before I pull a cigarette out.
That's excellent. That makes me really happy to hear. Did I miss anything, or is there anything else that you feel would be important for me to know, or to kind of flesh out the story a little bit more, or get a bigger picture?
Mm, not really. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I would think, yeah, that helps a lot.
So that's helpful.
Yeah,
So, um, when you leave here, are you gonna have a cigarette?
probably.
Probably. That's okay.
But just one.
But just one?
Yeah,
All right.
and then we'll take it from there.
And then we'll take it from there. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. I appreciate your time. And I look forward to hearing in the future about situations where you were able to implement your newfound coping mechanism.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.